You know, I'm not shocked. I
Yeah,
knew it before I even came here.
Rebecca McMurray is talking about this.
5 years of community control.
A sentence of probation, not jail time, for this former Westchester police officer.
Appreciate it very much, and Michelle appreciates it, and I think it was appropriate and justice was served.
A Butler County judge handed down the decision Monday, 1 month after Michelle Burling pled guilty to tampering with evidence. She'd altered flock camera data and images tied to a 2024 death investigation.
Ms. Burling made a mistake in failing to pull the license plate reader information as requested by Detective Ferris. However, Ms. Burling is not before this court for that terrible mistake. Ms. Burling is here because she made a conscious decision to then create false records to cover up her mistake.
Last June, police found the body of a woman in a tree line off Schumacher Park Drive. She was 33-year-old Brittany Sands, McMurray's daughter.
While I do not blame Officer Michelle Burling for my daughter's death, the actions she took, tampering with evidence and misusing law enforcement tools, had added an unnecessary layer of pain to an already unbearable situation.
McMurray read a letter in court Monday asking for truth and transparency. She and her family tell me they fear they'll never get it.
She could have held the key to the only evidence that would have answered the questions that we've had all along of what happened to her. What happened to my daughter?
The judge considered impact statements from both sides, as well as the veteran officer's own words.
I've been dealing with PTSD and mental health issues for a long time now, and I'm working on it.
But Sands' family says they doubt Burling's sincerity, telling me she's never reached out with remorse.
Liz and Russ, the sheriff says his deputy got into a scuffle with Johnny Mayfield, the deputy armed with his gun, and Mayfield armed with a broken glass.
The cop was chasing him, went in the back of the house, and then jump over the fence, and then you hear the 3 gunshots.
A dramatic chain of events described by construction worker Braulio Reo. He and his crew were in the middle of remodeling this home on West Bell Street Saturday around noon when a Vance County deputy showed up in front of the house chasing Johnny Mayfield.
It was just one police officer.
The Vance County deputy conducted a traffic stop on US 1 in Kitchener area. During the stop, it was discovered that the driver, Johnny Mayfield, had numerous outstanding orders for his arrest.
Sheriff Curtis Brame says Mayfield took off running before circling back to his car and taking off, leading the deputy on a high-speed chase. It ended in this Henderson neighborhood. The sheriff says Mayfield then ran again but didn't get far. Armed with a bottle, the sheriff says Mayfield ignored the deputy's commands, and when walking toward the deputy fell. Mayfield then broke the bottle on the ground and yelled threats.
With the remainder of the broken glass bottle in his right hand, stating again, "I'm going to kill you." The deputy regained his footing and stood up facing Mayfield, and Mayfield lunged at the deputy with the broken bottle in his hand. The deputy discharged his weapon, striking Mayfield.
I mean, it's not something that you see like on the daily, you know, it's just something that just happened, and my condolences for the family.
First place, Todd Morrell.
In January 2021, now former NOPD officer Todd Morrell was in the winner's circle when his timesheet said he was working an off-duty detail. A Lee Zurich investigation exposed that incident was just one in a wider payroll fraud scheme involving off-duty details. The investigation led to Morrell pleading guilty to 6 counts of wire fraud in November.
What is significant about this is that when this type of misconduct goes unaddressed, it creates the atmosphere in which there are going to be more abuses.
Rafael Goyeneche leads the watchdog group, the Metropolitan Crime Commission. He says a singular computer system tracking on-duty and off-duty detail shifts would help curb the issue. Citizen watchdog and UNO forensic science and chemistry professor Skip Gallagher compiles NOPD pay data.
Todd Morrell, to be fair, just wasn't the only person doing this.
In the aftermath of Zurich's investigation, the NOPD confirmed other officers were under investigation for double dipping. Gallagher says Morrell's sentencing needs to send a message.
Officers are in charge of enforcing the law, not breaking the law. And it disturbs me just no end to see officers who are just flouting this.
Morrell faces up to 20 years in prison for each wire fraud count.
Good morning and welcome to the Bad Apple Report.
It's 7:30 a.m. bright and early right here at Home on the Range. Thank you so much for being here today, folks. I really appreciate it. We are going to start this big day out in Nolens. And it's a big day because there's a lot of bad apples in court today. They're getting sentenced. They're begging for new trials. This guy's thing is over. It's the end of the road for this NOPD officer. And the end of the road is, well, his bedroom at home. Home confinement for this goofball. Former Sergeant Todd Morrell, who confessed to 6 counts of payroll fraud. Well, you saw. This is the follow-up to that little piece we just watched. Former New Orleans Police Department Officer Todd Morrell was sentenced Tuesday to 5 years of probation, with the first 8 months on home confinement making the end of a dramatic fall from grace after a 32-year law enforcement career. Morrell, who retired as a sergeant in 2021 as a federal investigation against him intensified. He received a sentence at the lower end of the federal guidelines despite the U.S. Attorney's Office pushing for a stiffer penalty. Okay. In a 20-page motion, Assistant Attorney General Jordan Ginsburg urged the court to impose a sentence that accounts for the brazenness, breadth, and damaging downstream consequences of Morrell's conduct. But no, they're just going to keep the bad apple train going. Okay, Ginsburg cited long-standing abuses in the NOPD's payroll and off-duty detail system. He's called for a harsher sentence. Quote, even after costly efforts to remediate the program, Morrell located its weaknesses, betrayed the public trust, and exploited the power he wielded as a long-serving law enforcement officer to seek personal, gain. All right, goofball. Morrell, who was routinely among the highest-paid NOPD officers, admitted to various fraudulent schemes in which he collected pay for hours he didn't work. So, with his home confinement and his probation, does he get to keep all those ill-gotten gains? Likely. Okay. All right. In 2 counts, he admitted to double-dipping, getting paid for both regular police duties and off-duty detail shifts at the fairgrounds racecourse. In 3 counts, Morrell admitted he was paid for fairgrounds detail shifts while engaging in his hobby of racing cars. Okay. 2 of those instances, he raced at NOLA Sports in Avondale, and in another, he was racing in Texas. In the final count, he admitted collecting pay for fairgrounds hours he never worked. The allegations against Morrell, the brother of New Orleans City Council President J.P. Morrell, go figure, rotten apple tree. Mom and dad are rotten apples, apparently. Okay, they surfaced as part of a broader review of the payroll discrepancies among the NOPD officers. So Morrell initially blamed clerical errors in the city's Office of Police Secondary Employment, which manages the off-duty details. City officials acknowledged issues with cross-referencing regular hours, overtime, and detailed shifts. Yeah, knucklehead. While other officers were either cleared or had discrepancies handled administratively, Morrell faces greater scrutiny as a consistent 6-figure earner. Once surpassing $200,000 in a single year. Well, that should raise a red flag. Morrell's attorneys could not be reached for comment. Aw. Well, it don't matter. He got off light. Nobody wants to talk about it ever again. We'll move on with the show.
DeLustro is accused of shooting and killing 39-year-old Michael O'Neill after an altercation outside of the North Main Street Chick-fil-A on March 20th.
The first arriving officers on scene immediately went to the situation, assessed it, and they immediately went and removed Mr. O'Neill from his vehicle and began rendering first aid upon Mr. O'Neill. And I think the family needs to know that. I know it's a horrible situation and they don't want to have to think about that.
This video footage has been confirmed by authorities and shows the moments leading up to the shooting.
My entire life was public service. I never did anything wrong. I never had one substantiated complaint in the 35 years I've been in law enforcement.
A former Somerville police officer who has been accused of murder has been granted bond. A judge ruling today that Anthony DeLustro can be released on certain conditions. He's been in jail for nearly a year on kidnapping and murder charges after a fight at a Chick-fil-A in Somerville during which DeLustro is accused of shooting and killing Michael O'Neill last March. DeLustro's lawyers told the judge their client has been injured in the head and has broken his ankle in the past 6 months. They asked the judge to let him out so he can get the medical treatment they say he needs. Today, the judge said DeLustro can be released on a $150,000 surety bond. He will have to wear an electronic monitor and will be on strict house arrest. He'll also be required to surrender his driver's license and get rid of any firearms. We do have the full list of requirements and more background on the case on our website.
All right, here's an interesting story. Things that make you go, okay. Former Arizona sergeant sentenced to jail for abusing a deputy. Okay, Ricky Garcia was sentenced Monday in Pima County to 1 year in jail as a condition of his probation. Interesting. It says here, a former Pima County Sheriff's Sergeant has been sentenced to 3 years of probation after a jury convicted him of sexually abusing another law enforcement official. Ricky Garcia was sentenced Monday to 1 year in jail as a condition of his probation after he was convicted of attempted sexual assault and sexual abuse. Garcia was additionally ordered by the judge to complete 200 hours of community service, additionally, register as an ex-offender, and to not have contact with the victim. That's it for him. The former sergeant was charged following an incident in December 2022 involving him and a female deputy during a house party. Oh, no. At the trial, the jury found Garcia not guilty of the offense of sexual assault, but convicted him on lesser offenses. Chris Nanos, the sheriff, put out the following statement, and we're not even going to read it. Okay, that's what we know about this goofball. He's sitting in jail. Thanks for being here, folks. Let's move on with the show.
New details tonight surrounding the major leadership shakeup inside the DeKalb County Police Department. Chief Mirtha Ramos now on administrative leave and has until the 1st of March to decide if she will resign or be terminated. 11 Alive's Cody Alcorn is live tonight outside the police headquarters in Tucker. Now, Cody, I know you spoke with the chief just a few hours ago. A lot of people talking about this. Did she say whether or not she saw this coming?
Jonathan, Chief Ramos says she was surprised. Of course, on January 17th, Lorraine Cochran Johnson was sworn in as DeKalb County's new CEO. And it's evident by this move that she is ready for a change when it comes to public safety in the state's 4th largest county. On Wednesday,
it was very sudden, so I'm processing it.
DeKalb County Police Chief Mirtha Ramos says she was called into the COO's office.
I was advised that CEO Lorraine Cochran Johnson has chosen to go in a different direction,
leaving her with two choices.
I have the option to either resign or be terminated. So I guess I'm on administrative leave. However, I'm also stepping away from my duties as a police chief as ordered.
The department's first female and, by the way, longest serving police chief in over 20 years.
I definitely was surprised. It was unexpected. I didn't do anything wrong, so that's important for me to leave with my reputation intact.
Ramos says it's been tough. The agency currently in what she describes as a staffing crisis.
It's a bear to carry. The officers are working long and hard, and nobody should have to work that hard.
Pointing out staffing was an issue before she was hired in 2019.
There was a time where this department had 1,100 officers. We didn't have 1,100 officers when I arrived.
Despite being down more than 300 officers, Ramos believes their crime reduction efforts are beginning to pay off.
Our homicide numbers are going down drastically. At this moment, we are 77.3 down in comparison to the same time last year.
Now, I can tell you this, the day after she pushed Ramos out, the CEO held a news conference where she announced they will be putting $10 million into the police department to work on retainment and, of course, hiring as well. That will include pay raises and also some enhanced benefits for these officers. I did ask Ramos about this, and she said, look, I'm excited for it. These officers deserve it. She says they are overworked right now, and she says they've earned every penny coming to them.
Dang, these bad apples just can't seem to catch a break in court today. This former officer has been sentenced for EXUAL battery. Christum Adam Boyer. He looks like a EXUAL batterer to me. Okay, a former Huntington police officer has entered a no-contest plea to EXUAL battery charges in Wayne County Circuit Court. In 2022, Christopher Adam Boyer, age 36, was indicted by a Wayne County grand jury on charges stemming from a West Virginia State Police investigation. According to the indictment, the alleged incident happened around February 13th, 2022. Police say Boyer resigned from the Huntington Police Department the same day as the alleged incident. Okay, he was caught. When indicted, Boyer faced sexual assault and abuse involving a juvenile. In December 2024, Boyer entered a no-contest plea to a misdemeanor charge of sexually motivated battery. On Monday, Boyer was sentenced to 12 months in jail. That's all he gets, 1 year. The judge then suspended 11 months of his sentence, so he will only spend 1 month in jail for EXUAL battery of a juvenile. That's right. Boyer will also have 3 years of probation and must register as an ex-offender. Okay, a no contest plea means the defendant accepts a conviction without admitting guilt. Okay, there he is, Christopher Adam Boyer, Bad Apple, right here on the Bad Apple Report. Thanks for being here, folks. You guys, this is the cop that shot the unarmed man in his garage while he was holding his keys, you know. He thought those keys were a shiny weapon. But now, this former CPD officer, Adam Coy, he's seeking a new trial over withheld evidence. We're not going to read about it, but I just want you to take a look at the look in his eyes. That's a very worried cop. Okay, we'll move on.
All right. I have no idea what happened here, but this is a dangerous. Somebody dropped glass. It's all over the road, right off of the Route 17 down here in Yorktown, Grafton area. So I'm going to use my blower and try to blow this glass off the side of the road. But I hope nothing doesn't happen. But this is just dangerous and ridiculous that people wouldn't clean up after they sell.
Thank you very much. We did it. We made it through another show. And I almost didn't make it today, you guys. So much going on. And I'm afraid there probably will be a few interruptions coming up in the next couple of weeks, I fear. It's true. It may even become a pattern. So we're going to do our best to do our show every day, bright and early at 7:30 a.m. But if some morning I'm not here, I'm thinking about you and I'm somewhere else, not on YouTube. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. And we'll see you right away.